Hello and welcome back to the Motorsport Bet Talk podcast. You're joining me, Vedant, and DD, and we have our roles reversed this time because they were visited the 24 hours of Daytona, the Rolex Daytona 24 hours or whatever the official name is. But yeah, we are very excited to talk about that. So grab some chai, take your seats, read your opinions, and dive into the conversation. Hello Divya. How was Florida? How was Daytona?
It was very tiring, but absolutely amazing. I remember at some point during the night around two a.m. I nodded off, and I kept nodding off on and off. But every time I woke up from my nap, I was right there, and the racing was right in front of me, and I had to do nothing to tune in to that
Yeah,
except simply open my eyes.
that's the best part, and just napping to the sounds of
Yes.
the cars going past. That's incredible. That's just
But
incredible.
what a Rolex 24 hours to attend, I mean, crazy stuff.
Absolutely.
Great racing throughout the weekend. It wasn't just the Rolex 24 hours. I also saw the Michelin Pilot Challenge, so the BMW M Endurance Series,
Yep.
the day before that on Friday, and both of the classes had an amazing race, GS and TCR, and then we saw what happened at the end of the Rolex 24. And I don't know, like, believe me or not, the end of the Rolex 24, besides probably the LMP2 race, it wasn't the most exciting part of the 24 hours. Like, I saw some racing and some racing moves that were way more exciting in other categories than what happened in the last 45, 50 minutes of, the 24 hours at even with the LMP2s. So it was a crazy weekend, yeah. Very tired after that. After having basically been sitting in the same spot for over 24 hours.
Yeah.
But I am so glad I did it, and also a little bit sunburned.
Well, Florida will do that. Will do that to you, I guess. But did you also watch the Mazda Cup racing?
Unfortunately, no. That has been my only regret.
Yeah,
So
because the Mazda Cup is always very close.
yes. So I did have a 4 day pass, but unfortunately, because of be having to work full time, there's only so much paid time off I get.
Right.
So instead of going for the entire 4 days, I went for the 3 days. And on the first day, the day of well, it's the second day of the weekend, but my first day there,
Yeah.
we had the Michelin Michelin Pilot Challenge race. So I got there in the morning, and I got really caught up with all the, let's say, the fan activities and the free swag that you were getting and all that sort of stuff, and just talking with
Right.
the different tents and pop-ups that people had, all the companies had. So I got caught up with that, and by the time I got around that, the Mazda race was over. However, as far as the Mazda MX-5 Cup is concerned, I am also going to Sebring this year, thankfully. So,
Yeah.
and for all 4 days, so I'm looking forward to catching a Mazda MX-5 Cup race there. I did see a glimpse of it, and yeah, it is complete carnage. It is complete carnage, in my opinion.
I mean, the LMP2 had two cars photo finishing at the end, right? Mazda had four.
I am sure. I
Yeah.
haven't had a chance to watch the replay, but I am sure those cars. It's basically elevated club racing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
it's just an insane way to go racing, and it's a lot of fun. And they're loud. Don't think that just because they're MX-5s, they're not loud. They are hella
Oh
loud
yeah.
when you are sitting next to
Yep.
the track.
Yeah. Well, I mean, uh, so how was? I mean, I guess I would want you to compare all your different experiences later towards the show.
Okay.
But we'll end on that. But how was your experience, particularly to endurance racing and particularly to IMSA, and I guess how open it is for fans?
Yeah, so regarding that. So okay. So the experience on Friday and Saturday was a little bit different. Just okay, so first of all, just to even like start off, this was the biggest crowd they've had at Daytona in, I don't know if in forever, but definitely in years. right? So
That's great.
this was one of the biggest crowds on Saturday and Sunday. Not on Friday. I'm not sure about Friday, but definitely on Saturday and Sunday. So on Friday, obviously I did all of that, and then before the Michelin Pilot Challenge race started, I hopped into the garages, and I could walk through all of the garages and the teams working, on their cars, readying it, and so on and so forth. I went and checked out the JDC Motorsport garage where they were filling up their Unitronic Audi with fuel, obviously with gasoline, and they had a drain plug leak, and all the gasoline came gushing out of the back of the car, basically. So that was interesting to see, and there was a whole bunch of fuel on the garage floor. But yeah, on Saturday, I think that was my highlight on Saturday. Just being able to walk into the paddock, basically,
Yeah.
and just seeing people work on cars, seeing a bunch of tech around. And just you can walk up and ask people whatever. Usually, if they're working on it, leave them alone. But you can just walk up and have a look if someone's just having a snack, have a chat, and it's super open, super open. I mean, yes, they say when you buy the tickets that hey, only people with a 4-day pass or a 2-day pass can get in, but no one's checking your credentials. They're just checking your bag to make sure you don't have anything weird. And as long as you don't have that, you can get into the garage with whatever tickets you have, as long as you can get into the infield. So it was definitely awesome. And all these even like the pop-up tents from the different companies, they usually have like display cars. So like the Acura tent had like the old Maya Shank DPI car there, right, which Helio won in last year. And then I think there was the Ford GT Mark III or something there, which had previously competed in the IMSA category, and a couple other, a few other companies with a few more cars there. I think BMW had a life-size model basically of the new BMW M hybrid GTP car, and so on and so forth. So a lot of access. Yeah, and it's super cool. You still can't get into the pits. However, before the race, you have the fan grid walk where you can look into the pits. However, in that moment, the teams are usually not set up into the pit, so it's not like you can see the teams working or anything like that. But they line up the cars on the grid, obviously in the order they're supposed to roll out in, and you can walk, you can take pictures with the drivers, mechanics, whoever's there. Everybody's really open. No one says no. There's nothing like that. It gets a little bit crowded. But on Friday with the Michelin Pilot Challenge, it wasn't crowded at all. So you could take your time, check out the cars again if you want to, go get some driver cards, get it autographed, do whatever you want to do. Walk up to the Daytona. Or they didn't open the Daytona stuff then, I think. But you could basically walk up to the finish line and then, walk into the grass where the Daytona logo is and check all of that out. And then
Sorry, continue. Yeah.
And then basically, as they're closing up, go into the stand and find yourself a good spot and then watch the 4 or 5 hour race. So that was Friday. What was the biggest difference between Friday and Saturday was just the size of the crowd. Now, I don't do well with crowds. I don't like being crowded in a crowded place, pushed around and all of that. So what I did was basically, I visited the garages early in the morning. The basically the 24-hour class garages are separate from the Michelin Pilot Challenge garages. So I visited the GTB garages, the LMP3, LMP2, and the GTD Pro and GTD class garages, which are all together. Checked out the cars, checked out what they were working on, and things like early in the morning. And then I went out, and there was a drive-in Q&A, and it was Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, Andy Lally, and Austin Cindric, which was a great bunch of drivers who love to talk, and they were having a lot of fun in the driver Q&A, unlike what we've seen at other events. Let me put it that way for now. And they were just having a blast. And then I did try to get in the garage and do the fan grid walk later, but it was so crowded that I simply once the grid walk started, I simply beelined to my seat that I wanted to watch the race start from, and I just sat there. There were people who were out there, taking pictures with, mechanics and cars and drivers on the grid, but I just didn't have the patience for that. I didn't want to, be there with a heavy backpack on my back and, be doing all of that. So I just basically saw the Daytona sign, walked past it, saw the finish line, and then just beelined across to my seat. And then, obviously, we had a great 24 hours race. I did... The only thing I regret not doing or like I missed out on, basically by the end of the night, I had a bad stomach. unfortunately, that night.
Ah.
So I didn't move around a lot. I was basically watch the entire race from the grandstands. So the only thing I didn't do was get really up and close in the infield with the cars, which I could have done, basically. So
Yep.
that's one thing that I missed out on. And the other thing would just be, just going into the garages at night or anytime during the day when a car breaks down and, the team's taken inside to work on it. However, like even then, like you're not going to see anything very different from what you see in the garages previously. So I didn't, feel too bad about that.
Yep.
But I just sat in one place trying to enjoy the race and not think about my stomach hurting at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, that's always bad, especially when it's a 24-hour event.
Yeah, yeah. And there were a couple hiccups basically. So, and we'll get into that. So basically, there was another issue with like my parking situation. So so Daytona was not clear whether or not you could park overnight
Okay.
for the 24-hour race,
Yeah.
and I got the confirmation really really late. And there was something, but we can get into that later. Anyway, what do you want to hear about more?
Yeah, I mean, I just want, I guess, not just me, even our listeners might want to know who did you spot? Like, did you, because you were walking in the paddock, right? Did you interact with anybody? Did you spot anybody, like any drivers or anybody special other than the drivers itself? Maybe.
I mean, dude, you can spot anyone and everyone in the garage. Like, Hilo Castroneves, Simon Pagenaud, they were right there. I was looking at Acura cars and they were standing right there. I didn't interact with them a lot. I don't feel comfortable, going up to them and talking about them when I don't have any prepared questions for them.
Yeah,
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I don't want them to just have another. So here's my thing, right? If it's not going to be a quality interaction for the other person, I don't, feel like going up to that person and making that interaction happen. I'm sure there is some quality in just like wishing them good luck or whatever. But if there's nothing more than that, if it is better to leave them alone, in my opinion, I'll just probably do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can spot anyone and everyone. So the entire Acura team, like the drivers and the engineers were right there. I think someone said that they spotted Roger Penske, not me. Like and I obviously the Marshall Pruett did like a little 15-minute Q&A session with whoever was interested. So I basically saw Marshall Pruett there.
Yeah.
I saw Graham Goodwin, who does the This Week in Sports Car podcast with Marshall Pruett, and a few other folks, right? And yeah, you can literally see anyone and find anyone, like all the drivers, and and everybody's super open. Like there isn't a barrier to there isn't a barrier to communication or I don't know how to phrase this. There is no reason someone will deny talking to you unless they're super busy, basically.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
you might have seen pictures with people posting of Jack Aitken, right? People posting pictures with Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, people posting pictures with other drivers that they're fans of. So there is absolutely no barrier to getting in touch and just saying hi to these people. There were a lot of people I saw who were talking about, especially young people like us. And even kids who were talking about, oh, how can we get into motorsport? And I spotted a couple of those people talking to mechanics and engineers and things like that. And most people are happy to answer a few questions, and everybody's there to just have a good time, like genuinely have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's what I love about the endurance ecosystem, basically. We love the racing, we love the engineering
And I think
behind it.
because it is endurance, no one is like highly charged. Like it's not like a
Yeah,
45-minute
exactly.
or 3-hour event where you have to be highly charged for that. Everybody's taking it slow and trying to recharge as much as possible whenever they get a chance, because they know it is an endurance event. It is a 24-hour event. This is
Yeah.
not. And for most people, it's a 48-hour day, like anywhere between a 36-hour to a 48-hour day for the mechanics, engineers, drivers, or whoever, right? They might get a nap in between, but we all know when you wake up from a tired nap, you're not really refreshed. You're just a little less tired.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. Yeah, I mean, I'm short of questions because I am.
So I can go into a couple of things.
Yeah.
One is how. So like I think the biggest question we always come across is how do you follow a race, right? Especially
Endurance,
when you're in the
yes.
grandstands, right?
Yep.
Now people struggle to follow a race even if it's like one category for 3 hours, whether that's IndyCar, Formula One, whatever, right? So how do you follow a multi-class race for however long you want? The way I did it is basically I didn't worry about the battles down the grid.
Yep.
What I mean is I didn't worry about battles in every class that were not for the top three positions. I basically made a note of every couple of hours or every couple of pit stop changes, pit stop rounds. I would make a note of, okay, who's leading, what are the 3-4 people leading, who's close and who's not close, and then spot those cars on the track and then just follow those cars around. So GTP was super easy because you could spot those cars with the different tail lights and headlights and so on.
Yeah.
So GTP was never super close, so you weren't ever really very closely following GTP unless it was right after like a yellow flag, let's say. So it was always like LMP2, LMP3, and the GT cars. And with the GTD cars, what you can do is you can club the GTD cars together basically and not worry about Pro and Am because it doesn't really matter. It's the same spec car, right? So that's basically what I did. I basically, every couple of hours I would check the standings and then see who was close and who was not, and where I could see good racing, and then follow those cars around the track. And I was sitting at turn 1, so I thought where I was sitting was probably the best place to see the entire race from, because you could basically see the entire track except for the Le Mans chicane or the pit stop. Sorry, the bus stop.
The bus stop chicane,
So you could, I think it was section 384, 385 where I was sitting, so you can go either higher or lower from there. So it's basically at turn 1, right? And that is where you see a lot of action, a lot of overtaking.
Exactly.
You can see the International Horseshoe, you can see the Western Horseshoe, and you can see the left-hand turn that then goes on to the banking, right? So that is the way I followed the race. Where would I recommend you see the races from? I think turn 1. That's it. If you're in the grandstands, watch it from turn 1. You can get up and close if you walk down the grandstand basically with the cars. If you want to see the pit stops, you might have to go towards, I think, sections 140 or 130 or something like that. But I did that for like 2 rounds of pit stops. I saw a few pit stops happen, but not very exciting again, because you're still far enough that you can't make out everything that is happening, but it's still exciting to see a little bit of action in the pits. I would recommend definitely go to the International Horseshoe and the Western Horseshoe and get a little bit up and close with the cars as much as possible, because the cars are definitely a little bit closer than when you're in the grandstands, let's say. The only downs, I feel, okay, so here's one thing that might be a little not controversial, but something that most people might disagree with, and that is racing at night is way more exciting to look at on TV than it is to look at in person.
Yeah, I mean, that
the reason I
makes
say
sense.
that the reason I say that is, firstly, except for the GTP cars, it was really hard to tell the headlights apart of different cars when they're approaching you. So the only time you can see who's racing against whom is when they're
turn
very close to you, basically, when the headlights are not in your eyes, right? And the second thing is it gets a little bit hard to follow. And thirdly, where you're sitting is still, lit up by floodlights, because the track is lit up by floodlights, right? So for you, yes, it is night racing, but it's not really, like, the feeling is a little bit different from what you see on TV. What you see on TV, it still feels like the cars are racing at night, because all you see is mostly the headlights. You don't really see the floodlights, playing an effect into what you see on camera. Right. So I think that is a slight difference between watching the racing. But the best hours of racing, or the best time to watch racing, I thought at the Daytona Speedway, International Speedway, was basically at the golden hours of light, So either just after sunrise or just right around sunset. And I thought, that was the best time to be around, and Daytona just came alive during those hours.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the golden hours are the most beautiful ones, and especially when it's the morning, when it's 6-7 a.m. and everyone starts getting energized, the sunlight comes back, and that last 6-hour stretch begins. It's the most exciting time to watch endurance racing.
Yeah, I mean, dude, endurance racing, so you start off like, oh yeah, the race has finally started, let's get going, and then by hour 6, you're like, when will this get over? Hour 12, you're like, I want to kill myself, and then once, like you said, once you start that last quarter of the race, you're like, let's go, it's almost, and then you're sad about, like, it's getting over.
yeah, exactly.
But one thing I forgot when we were talking about access was, so on on Friday when the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series is racing, there's an autograph session with all the drivers. I think there's 240 drivers in total or something like that.
Yep.
And all the drivers do an autograph session for an hour in the infield fan zone. I did not do that because I don't really care about driver autographs. It's an unpopular opinion, but that's just me. I was there for the on-track racing and I wanted to see that, so I didn't do that. So yeah, that is one thing that I forgot. And secondly, all the different, at least like the GTP teams who have their tents, usually or even like even like the GTD teams and TCR teams, like Hyundai is a TCR team with a pop-up tent there. Even they do like driver meet and greets sometime during the weekend, but it's usually during the other race, right?
Yeah.
Or at a weird time where you have to give up watching racing basically to go do that other thing. For me, I was like, I'm here to see some racing for 24 hours. I don't care about anything else. So I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, if you want to meet people, there's lots of opportunities to meet drivers, especially whether that's at their respective tents, at the autograph session, in the garages, wherever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you said you were sitting on turn 1, and I just thought, man, you're damn lucky that you were sitting at turn 1, but you were damn lucky that it didn't rain, because it would have ruined.
The weather was absolutely beautiful the entire weekend. Like when I checked the weather a week ago when I was packing and making plans, it was still showing that it's going to be quite cold in Daytona. It was showing that it wouldn't rain until Sunday night, but it was still showing that it's going to be cold. So I packed my jacket, I packed my sweatshirts, and I basically didn't need any of that. I needed a sweatshirt and a pair of gloves on Friday night, and that was it. The weather held out, and it was so beautiful the entire weekend. Like I said, I got sunburned.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is, at the same time, had it rained, had the turn 1 skid zone appeared, and the turn 1, like we have seen it in previous years, right? Everyone's just sliding around turn 1 in the runoff area. That would have been exciting. And exciting.
I mean, even without that, once the temperatures dropped, even without the temperatures dropping, there were enough people going wide on turn 1. We saw so many people fuck it up on turn 1 trying to make a move. I think late in the race, I think we saw one of the LMP3s, I think, lose it in turn 1. We also saw, I think, a Lamborghini or something lose it in turn 1 by itself almost earlier on in the race. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is there were enough incidents on turn 1 as is while I was there without rain. So
Daytona turn
there
1
was
is
no
incredible.
need for that.
Yeah. So I mean,
but I think the most surprising thing, at least let me just make this point about racing, was we didn't see complete failures from the GTP cars except one. So I think that is was something unexpected.
In terms of the racing, we saw
we saw 8 out of the 9 cars finish the race on track. So I think that was great, and for most of the race, there was great racing between the number 6 Porsche, the number 6, both the Acuras, the number 60 and the number 10, and the Cadillacs. The number 1 for the most parts, but the number 2 came in and out every now and then, right? And even Jack Aitken in the number 31 was quite racy at one point after a yellow flag. So they put on a great show. They were reliable, and it was super exciting. So I think it's a great dawn to the new GTP era. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, after qualifying, we were expecting Cadillac and BMW to be much slower. BMW did have some issues, but overall it was...
BMW was lacking pace in the race.
But overall it was still positive for the first race of a new era, basically. But if you are getting into the racing, Meyershank Racing, they are...
Dude, so Meyershank Racing are 2 for 2 for all the races that they have participated in that I have visited. So Meyershank Racing and Helio Castroneves. So I visited the Indy 500 in 2021.
Yeah, right.
MSR 1, Helio 1. I visited the Rolex 24, MSR 1, Helio 1.
Well, Sebring next.
Sebring next, yeah.
But I mean, let me just say, Meyershank Racing with that Acura, they dominated last season. They won the championship.
Yeah.
they have started this new era in a great way. Tom Blomqvist has been an revelation. I'm not you. These are not my words. These are words of proper motorsport journalists. But yeah, it's incredible the way this season has started for Tank Racing for Tom Blomqvist, and I'm all for it. I'm all for that pink and white car to go
Dude, that
places.
car was there. There were literally chunks of time during the race where that car was in a league of its own.
Yeah,
There was no catching the number 60 Acura ever there during different points of the race. It was like, I mean, if it was if it was just that Acura, just one Acura that was in the race and it was doing so well, you could have raised the question whether there was some technical
Yeah,
infringements or something.
exactly.
But there was a second Acura there.
There was a
a
second
second Acura,
Yep.
by WTR, and they weren't as quick. They weren't
They
as
finished
quick.
second though. They finished second though, but they weren't as
Yeah.
quick. Absolutely.
Yeah, they weren't as quick, absolutely. So that is that. One interesting technical thing to note that there were warnings issued for higher or high energy consumption. This is an issue we've seen happen in Formula E and other electric racing series. So this has something
Yeah.
that has carried over. That has carried over
That's
to
interesting.
IMSA. So
Yeah.
that
Nice.
not surprising, but again something to just point out there, right? But yeah, I mean that Acura was just it I mean, you can the most beautiful side is basically when you have all these cars on the banking going, from basically turn 1 banking to coming around turn 3 and 4,
Yeah.
and you can see all the different classes overtaking each other, and then there's just the GTV cars at the absolute top of the banking, overtaking everybody around the outside, and it's just insane.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, that is a sight to see. Unbelievable. But yeah. How, like, do you have anything to add for the racing? For, like, we covered the experience racing.
Probably the best racing you'll see. Probably the most bang for your buck you'll have as
Yeah.
far as racing is concerned.
Exactly.
For $130, you get 28. If you count the weekend prior also, right? If you count the races
Yeah,
the
because
weekend prior.
you had that included, right?
Yeah, technically I didn't go, but that was
Yeah,
included
that was
in the
in
ticket.
your
Yeah.
in your ticket. Yeah.
So for $130, you can get 28, 30, 31 to 32 hours of racing, not cars on track. 30
Racing.
over 30 hours of proper racing.
Racing,
That
yeah.
includes the VP Sports Car Challenge, the Mazda MX-5 Cup, the Michelin, the Michelin Pilot Challenge, and the Rolex 24. So I mean, and there was not a moment where the racing was boring. You could always find a battle that was going on the track.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's one of the iconic races in the calendar, not just in the series, not just in endurance, but on the calendar, on the motorsport calendar. It's, I mean, it's incredible how much a steal it is.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I mean, obviously there are more people interested in this now, and I saw a lot of fans wearing F1 merch. So clearly there are new fans of the sport who came to see the Daytona 24 hours, and there were a lot of fans who just came to see, let's say, the start of the race and the end of the race too.
Yep, yeah,
for the
yeah.
last couple of hours or less.
mean, fair
and so
enough,
on and so
yeah.
forth. Yeah. So clearly a lot of new fans were attracted to the event, right? And wherever they might have trickled down from, whether F1 or some other avenue. But clearly IMSA is growing, and the TV numbers also show that.
That's true. So let's come down to the most important thing. You have visited now 4 different championships in the US.
Technically 5, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, 4.
I also went to the one I think you don't remember is the Dirt Car Oval Nationals.
Yeah. That is there, but I mean,
Yeah.
I mean the 4 major championships,
Yes.
sort of. You
So the
were
Indy 500, the Formula E, New York E-Prix, the F1, US
At Kota.
GP at Kota, and the Daytona 24 hours.
500. You were injured at Kota, but other than that, like, it was Which
Okay.
like compare your
Which
experiences.
one would I go to? Which one would I go to again? Right?
Yeah.
Is basically the question.
Yeah.
I would go to the Daytona 24 hours any day, every day. Let me put it that way.
And that's not
and
your
it's-
recency bias talking, is
no,
it?
no, no. It's
Yeah.
not even about the money. It's just about the quality of racing, the quality of interactions, and so on and so forth. Right? And just how much fun you can have. Especially, I was by myself and I still did not feel bored.
Yeah.
I was by, yeah, there are a lot of people who come by themselves, but I'm just saying, like, there were times at Kota where I would be bored because there was nothing going on.
Yeah.
Almost. Not that that's completely true, but you know what I'm saying. Um, and the Daytona facility is beautiful. It's not as big. However, that being said, I don't think Daytona is equipped to handle as many fans as it had this year.
I think
Uh,
there were 61 something thousand fans.
So yeah, they weren't. I don't think they were equipped or ready to handle that many fans, or are ready to handle that many or more fans moving forward. And based on what I saw this weekend, that doesn't mean I had issues. The only two issues I had was basically regarding parking, overnight parking, which was a little stressful, but it resolved itself. And the second was regarding some misinformation or lack of information regarding wristbands and tickets, right? And that was basically a miscommunication between the Daytona, like the people who were hosting the show, right, on the ground. So miscommunication between them, basically,
Right.
both of those issues. Nothing major. But if those issues were to be scaled up to an audience of, let's say, 150,000 people, 200,000 people, they would manifest themselves in a much larger way.
Yeah.
And which is why I'm saying, while it is a great event, given, the number of people that are attending, if the number of people was simply to just increase by 50%, I don't think they're ready to handle those people just yet. I don't think they're expecting, how, or they're comprehending how things might change, even though they have the experience of that with the Daytona 500. They're not comprehending how things might change for a 24-hour race if so many people were to attend a majority of it.
Yeah, but I mean that's true. But in a realistic case, I mean the crowds at Daytona this time were at the peak, but like they won't grow that much. They won't reach the levels of
I am just saying,
Kota
if
or like Formula One or Indy 500, right?
so Kota also technically, like, overall attendance was, I think, 440,000. So if you distributed with, like, let's say even if 200,000 people attended on Sunday, let's say, which is more than probably the actual number.
Yeah.
So even if like 100,000 were to attend Daytona, I don't think they're exactly ready for that for the Rolex. They might be ready for that for the 500. I'm not saying they're not. I'm sure
Oh,
they
right.
do a
Yeah. I
much
get
better
your point. I get your
job
point.
with the 500.
Yeah.
But I don't think they were ready for that for the 24 hours. So I think that is something they need to scale, right? So the reason I say that is basically, while we were getting out of parking at the end of the Rolex 24, right, it took hours to get out of parking.
Right.
Because there just weren't enough workers, trying to help people out of parking, right? So there was a traffic jam because, as humans, we are absolutely, we can't navigate through life without help, right? Clearly. And we can't work together to solve issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so those little things add up a lot, right? Like when I went on Friday, people couldn't tell me whether a particular gate was open or not, right? But I met some of the most kindest, track workers that I've ever met across all 4 or 5 events. Like everybody I talked to or asked for help was super kind, super helpful, super patient. So hats off to them, and hats off to the people for putting on such a good show. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, not even about the money, just about the racing, just from a racing perspective, just from a fan who wants to see quality racing on track.
Yep.
Daytona. Go to the 24 hours of Daytona. Even if you want to meet your favorite drivers, whether they're IndyCar drivers, if they're participating in the Rolex, don't go to the IndyCar race, go to Daytona. NASCAR drivers, whoever.
Yeah.
If you can meet someone at the Rolex 24 hours of Daytona, go to Daytona.
I mean, even Max Verstappen might do Daytona 24 hours in the future. We have heard rumors. Yep.
If you wanna go look at cars, up close, go to Daytona. If you wanna just get a lot of swag out of your $110 ticket, go to Daytona. $120 ticket. Dude, I'll tell you how much swag I could have gotten more. This is just me like spending 2 hours, going across pop-up tents and stuff, and this is for free. I didn't pay a single dollar extra for this. I got 4 t-shirts, I got a water bottle, I got 2 posters, and I think 2 caps and a few stickers.
Wait, this is giveaway.
This is giveaway, yeah.
Oh my god.
And at the F1 weekend, I got jack shit
Yeah.
after spending $500 for that ticket.
Yeah. Oh my word.
So, dude, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And Daytona Beach. I think the way to do it is also not to stay up all night if you're there for the 24-hour race. I think the way to do it is because it's happening in January. The sunset happens pretty early. So
Yeah.
go watch the start of the race. Obviously, be there early, do the garage thing and everything. Meet people, whatever. And I think by 10:30, 11, go back to your hotel, get good night's rest, take a shower, come back at 6 in the morning before sunrise, right? And then watch the sunrise, watch it happen, and see the rest of the race. I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you can't follow everything at night when you are tired, when
Yeah.
there's barely anything visible, even though IMSA has positions on the side of the cars, which
it's still
I
difficult.
learned
It's still
only
I
this
mean,
year.
People usually say that the connectivity is bad on track, but I didn't find any issues. I had the IMSA radio on in my ears the entire time. I could access the leaderboard on my phone,
Yeah.
on the internet. So all of that is possible. What I'm saying is don't tire yourself out unnecessarily. You'll have
Yeah,
a better
exactly.
time
Just
if you just
have a
go
have a
back.
good experience.
Because that is the mistake I made. Like, if I could do it again, that is what I would do, is basically what I'm saying. There is no need to watch the entire 24 hours, as exciting as that is.
Yeah.
There is no point in making yourself miserable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm not kidding right now. After you said that all the stuff you got was for free, and you got it for whatever $130 whatever, I'm honestly thinking
Flying from
flying,
UK
yeah.
to the
because I mean, if I calculate it, it will definitely be more or less equivalent to a Silverstone Formula One ticket,
yes.
right? So
Yes.
including my flights, I don't know about the hotels, but including my flights,
It's
I
fine.
suppose-
I'll pay for some of it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
about it. Just come over.
yeah, exactly. Because well,
I mean, and
because
people camp. People will camp. People will camp in their cars. Like, you have in-car camping available
yeah,
there, which is
yes, yeah,
which is
yeah,
quite cheap, and you can camp in it. And they have great shower and toilet facilities. Yes, it gets a little bit dirty, as
course.
the case,
That-
but
yeah.
for a couple days, you can manage. You can, especially
mean,
as guys,
yeah.
you're okay with it.
we know what we have managed at school, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you'll be fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
that's
I can't even say like how much, like, go to a long endurance race weekend, go for all 4 days. If I was going to do the Rolex again, I would go for the entire week.
yeah.
I would go for the entire week and just have a chill time there, work remotely, and just do my thing.
Yeah, work remotely on the Daytona Beach for Monday through Thursday, and
Yeah,
then
Monday through
enjoy
Thursday. Yeah,
Friday.
exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's all from my side. Do you have
And
anything to add?
I'm looking forward to Sebring. I'm looking forward to seeing the Ferrari 499P. I'm
Oh,
looking
yeah.
forward to seeing, the Glickenhaus. I'm looking forward to seeing a whole new bunch of cars.
Peugeot, the Toyota.
At the WEC opener, yes. I'm not even concerned about the IMSA race at Sebring. My
Absolutely.
mind is on the WEC race.
I'm just interested. So, IMSA runs on the Friday and Saturday, right?
So IMSA runs only on Saturday, WEC runs on Friday, Michelin Pilot, which is IMSA, again runs on Thursday. So it's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday event instead of a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is the
And this time
carnival-
I'm going with a friend, so it's gonna be even more interesting. Yeah.
the Carnival of Endurance Racing,
Exactly. The Super Sebring weekend.
Super Sebring.
And I'm also going to the Hyderabad E-Prix, fortunately, in the meantime. So we'll see how that will go. That will reset my standards of race, probably. But we'll see. Hopefully, it's great. Hopefully, it's great. I just kid.
Well,
But,
hopefully I go to the British GT Championship in Donington Park in April. So let's see where that
Hey,
goes.
it's gonna be raining.
Well, it rains in July, so I think April should be fine.
I think it rains all the time. I have coworkers in the UK, and that's all they talk about.
That is true. That is true. It hasn't
Um,
rained for 2 days where I'm in Birmingham for 2 days, but yeah, the
Must be a
basic
record.
sentiment remains. That's all from my side. Divya, do you have anything like any footnote from the Daytona weekend?
I mean I can't think about anything more. I'm sure I'll remember things after we are done
Yeah,
recording,
yeah, of course.
which always happens.
Yeah,
But I can't stress how much I just can't stress it to any motorsport fan out there. If you can go to 24 hours of Daytona, just go for 4 days, or just go for the 2 days of the Rolex 24, and you will have a blast. And it'll be worth more than any other series racing series that you'll go to watch ever.
yeah. Well, that's all from our side. Stay tuned for more motorsport content coming your way. Well, I mean, this is the first time for me, so I think I did well.
All right, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
we'll catch you on the next one.
We'll catch you on, yeah.